Sisters and brothers, away no Siemi, Pastor Melo speaking. In the name of Tatanzambia Mazulu, the one who anointed me to be your servant and to get you prepared to go back to Zion, Kongo Totela, Luvuvamu, peace be with you. Today we are going to discuss together the topic of Christ, the Ukrainian war, and the third secret of Fatima. Never in the history of the world has humanity been in such great peril as the one we are currently experiencing with the war unleashed in Ukraine by Vladimir Putin. Remember that I already revealed 20 years ago in my book Christ the African that Russia is a red dragon, as prophesied in chapter 12 of the book of Revelation. The link between the Ukrainian crisis and the third secret of Fatima is duly recorded in my book. It is the apparent coincidence between the date of birth of the child announced in verse 5 and the date of the outbreak of the war against Ukraine, February 24th. Let's open the Holy Book to find the exact terms of the prophecy. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Then, extraordinarily, in line with the Ukrainian crisis, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. We will return to this verse 9 later on, so that we don't lose the parallel. Let us emphasize that in my aforementioned book, I thus break down the first verses of Revelation 12. The woman wrapped in the sun. This is the Lady of Heaven, appeared in Fatima, Portugal, to 3 little shepherds. On 6 occasions she descended from the celestial spheres to speak with Lucia dos Santos, Francisco and Jacinta Matos, the shepherds, to disclose to them 3 secrets, the third of which, being the heart of this great mystery, is called to change the face of the world and to divert the course of human history. The moon under her feet represents the condition of motherhood of the lady appearing at Fatima, which is confirmed in the Bantu tradition, especially in the Congo, by the analogy made between the following 2 words: Ngonde, the moon; Ngudi, the mother, the parturient. Revelation 12:2. The lady also symbolizes Isolele, the original name of Israel, whose illuminated meaning in Kikongo is I chose you, which is confirmed by the 12-star crown on her head. These crowns represent the 12 tribes of Isolele, unanimously considered as having disappeared from the world in complete contradiction with the Bible. Matthew chapter 19, verse 28, Acts chapter 26, verse 7. These are the famous 12 Mavila, characteristic of the kingdom of Kongo Totela. Mavila means at the same time hidden tribes and lost tribes. Verse 3 depicts a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, The addition of these two numbers is 17. Now, 1917 happens to be the year of the apparitions of the Lady and the Red Dragon, namely, the birth of the Soviet Union called to become a superpower capable of shaking the world. This is exactly what she is doing right now. Now, it turns out that the Bolshevik Revolution, which brought an end to the monarchy in Russia, broke out in October 1917 at the same time as the famous sun dance in Fatima, caused by the lady wrapped in the sun. Lenin and his companions chose, as prophesied in the Bible, red as the emblem of communism, the anti-God political philosophy. The link between Fatima and the Ukrainian crisis, the male sun. In my reference book, Christ the African, I reveal with supporting evidence that the third secret of Fatima is not, as the Vatican has been claiming since June 2000, the attack on Pope John Paul II on the very day of the 64th anniversary of the first apparition of the Lady in Fatima, namely May 13, 1981, but the secret birth of a man child destined to rule all nations with an iron rod. The iron rod is the emblem of a kingdom located in the heart of the African continent where the equator is situated, namely the circle on which the Almighty is seated. Isaiah 40:22. This is the kingdom of Kongo the which means the kingdom of the totality, the kingdom of the whole earth. Its capital, formerly named Embassy, a Congo word meaning the angels in the first sense of the word, that is, the envoys, the ambassadors of the Most High, is located in the north of Angola. Psalm 45:2. As from the division in 3, Matthew 13:33, of its immense territory at the infamous Berlin Conference of 1885. The child therefore was born in 1918 in northern Angola. This territory under the tutelage of Lusitania is then only an overseas province of Portugal. The child is therefore Portuguese at birth. For this reason, this event, unknown of the annals, but major in the history of humanity, is announced in the center of Portugal to three little shepherds of the same nationality as the child born in the heart of Africa. The child was born 9 months after May 1917, i.e., in February 1918. His exact date of birth is February 24th, 1918. Biblical numerology reveals the secret identity of the child. 24/02/1918 equals 999, the opposite of 666. The letter, as you know, symbolizes the Antichrist, Revelation 13:18. Therefore, its opposite, 999, represents Christ. As for the day and the month, it is a perfect match with the initiation of the attacks just 1 month ago on February 24th, 2022, of the war against Ukraine by Russia, the famous apocalyptic Red Dragon. Only those minds irreducible in their disbelief will say that this is a mere coincidence. For those who have ears to hear, we reveal here that the real war, despite the thousands of innocent Ukrainian victims we mourn, is not the one taking place here on earth, but that which in the heavenly spheres opposes Christ the Congo, Christ the Conqueror, to the great dragon, the ancient serpent called the devil and Satan. Satan too confirms the prophecy of Revelation 12, verse 9. There is a race that curseth their father, and does not bless their mother. There is a race that is pure in its own eyes, and yet is not washed from its filthiness. There is a race, oh how lofty are the eyes, and the eyelids are lifted up. There is a race whose teeth are as swords, and they draw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. Proverbs 30:12-14. There is above all a race that loves death to the point of inventing weapons such as atomic and nuclear bombs, such as the one described below and so aptly named Saturn. Invented by the Russians, Saturn II, whose surname is RS-28 Sarmat, can possess 10 to 15 nuclear warheads on board. This gives it the ability to destroy a territory the size of Texas or France in a few seconds, according to Russian TV reports. The missile can travel up to 10,000 kilometers. Its top speed is 7 kilometers per second. At this speed, it could make the journey from Moscow to London in just 6 minutes. The maximum power of the missile is about 50 megatons, which is 2,000 times more powerful than the nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. To spend hundreds of billions of dollars, euros, or rubles to build this kind of death craft, whose ultimate goal is in fact the annihilation of all life on earth, you really have to be the right hand of he who has the power of death, that is the devil. Hebrews 2:14. Christ, who is the incarnation of life, doesn't want to resemble this race from near or far. That is why he took the color of humus, of the most total humility. Humus, black and fertile earth from the decomposition of plants. Christ, who, being the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a slave. Philippians 2:6-7. This passage is only the echo of an oracle of the prophet Isaiah, who defines Christ as the slave of the powerful. Isaiah 49:7. A condition imbued with content, which definitely is the fate of the Congo child of the mystery of Fatima. The birth of this child is announced with a pomp that the Almighty has reserved for no man except His Son. The Sun danced at Fatima, announcing the secret return on February 24th, 1918, of the Sun of Justice, of the unvanquished Sun. Invictus Sol is the inimitable sign, Simeon in Greek, divine first name given to the child, that Toko, which means male child, bridegroom, is Christ hidden, revealed only to the elect, is solely. And since we know that this male child, so humble and so powerful at the same time, was able to move the sun, which is, let us remember, 300,000 times more voluminous than the tiny blue planet, Simeon Toko is the one by whom the earth and its inhabitants will be preserved from all Saturns, including the missile families named Saturn. Saturn, through the red dragon, wants to exterminate millions and millions of souls to establish his new world order. The COVID vaccine, recently inoculated into the human race on a global scale, being one of the means to achieve this end. This is why we cry out to the face of the world, awake, you who are deep in sleep. The Almighty, through His anointed, Simeon Toko, wants to establish a kingdom, Kongo of peace, love, justice, and happiness for all men of good will. Satan wants to achieve the opposite with all the weapons at his disposal. This is a real war that is taking place at this very moment in the spiritual world. The fate of the physical world, the earth, depends upon this spiritual warfare. May Congo reign, Ingeta, Pastor Melo.
Ntangwame yasala ilungiti. Ntangwame yasala ilungiti.